Okay, Christina, what's your fun fact? Yeah, I think
Okay,
you have three this time.
I do. So there's one, I think it's pronounced Botes void, and it's also known as the Great Nothing. And there's this massive region of space, and it's called the Botes void, and it's roughly 250 to 330 million light years across, and with only about 60 galaxies identified inside of it. And they said it's basically a cosmic dead zone that's big enough to make the whole idea of distance feel pointless.
I mean, yeah, you were just saying numbers, Christina. I'm like, no one can conceive this. Like,
Yeah, I
you
can't
can't
begin
see
to
across from
grasp.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can't see you from across the void. Like,
And then my next one, there's actually this thing they're called rogue planets, and they drift like without a star. So like there are some exoplanets that are like free floating, and they just wander space like untethered to like any star. And so they're just planet-sized objects, no sunrises, no orbit, no obvious reason to exist, except that the universe just loves chaos.
So I'm just imagining that's just like darkness, right? Like they're just in the
Yeah,
dark, like just
just
hurtling through
floating.
space.
Yeah,
yeah, I guess unless you pass by a really bright star.
yeah, and you just like see it floating, floating by,
Or a black
uh,
hole.
or a black hole.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then my last one for this little segment, fast radio burst, and it's kind of like cosmic jump scares. And so fast radio bursts are short, violent flashes of like radio energy that show up with almost zero warning. And NASA reported that the first FRB was actually seen inside the Milky Way and came from a magnetar flare. And so that helped link at least some of these signals to like super magnetized stellar remnants. And basically, they said space basically just screams sometimes.
Space is not real. Like,
Yeah.
what is it doing out there?
Well, this is the argument for space being conscious, you know, just saying.
Well, and that's why I picked these facts because it's like strange things that actually exist according to NASA. So it's like crazy because in my head, I'm like, there's no way that this is real. But like, who am I to say? Who am I to say that? You know what I mean?
Okay, but what's to say some of these things can't happen here where we live? Like, we are in space.
Yeah, we are.
We
Hmm.
are
We are.
beings of space. Like, we can't get out of space. So if like that thing just screams occasionally, what's keeping it from happening right here, right now? How does
Hmm.
that work? Is there a barrier that keeps the outside space out and the inside space in?
And yeah,
There's also like so much we don't know, right? So
yeah.
like for a long time we thought it was just a dome, right? We're in like there's the earth and then we're in a dome and it's the firmament and heavens outside of that, you know. So
Hmm.
and this is the center of the universe once we decide there is something besides just the earth.
Wild,
And
Yeah.
wild.
people still think that the Earth is flat.
There is a
I
guy in
love
my
it.
home. There's a guy in my hometown of Denton, Texas, who has like written shit all over his house, and he has these cars that he
No.
parks around town that are just like these old junky vehicles with like stuff all over them that are like the Earth is flat and like all this other crazy stuff. He got arrested for spray painting a Walmart about like some conspiracy.
That is wild.
Is that an accurate representation of your hometown, Greg?
It is. I mean, he's literally flat Earth guy. Like that's what people call him.
That was
I'll send
good.
you all some clips and some pictures because they're all over the internet.
Oh
He's
my
one of
gosh.
those is water wet people, you know?
Yeah.
I saw a video one time and it was like you don't really ever touch anything because there's a layer of electrons keeping you from touching anything. You just think you're touching. And
No,
it's like,
that's true. That's
I
true,
know it's
actually.
true. I know it's true, Randy. I don't want to think about it because then I'm
Except,
like, when I
except
cut myself, can I really get tetanus?
it's even technically not true though, because depending on what it is that you're touching, the electrons could be spaced out enough that there is some like slippage. You know what I mean? It just doesn't happen long enough for you to meld with it. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
It just doesn't happen at enough of a level where we combine forces and become one thing.
Exactly, exactly.
There's too much chemistry going on
But
right
you know
now.
what I love most about it is if you had the right, like these are the stupid ass experiments that I think about in my head. Because if you had just the right vibrational frequency to excite the electrons into the same state of energy, you could technically meld yourself. Did you guys ever watch
In
Quest for
theory.
Camelot?
The what?
The Quest for Camelot.
No, I don't know what that is.
Okay. Well, it is an excellent, excellent, excellent 90s cartoon movie. Obviously about King, the quest for Camelot, Arthur and the sword and whatever, whatever. Anyway, I bring this up because there's a part where they do this potion and they do this special dance and they like dip the potion and they merge people in with like their swords and stuff. So like people are coming out with like axes on their ends of their arms and stuff. And I think about it when when I'm having this conversation with you because if the electrons were vibrating at the right ex activation, the right excitement level, we could be doing that kind of shit, you know? I don't think we've pushed science far enough. But we'll talk about that more when we get to Ice Pick Surgeon in our book club chats.
I don't think we've pushed science far enough, Randy.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think we have.
Mhm.
Biohackers, that's what I'm going to be talking about when we do the Ice Pick Surgeon. I already know. I'm talking biohacking.
This is gonna sound once again controversial. I think if people are volunteering, because someone out there wants to be medically experimented on, I know it. I feel like that's fine. But when you do it against people's wills and just because you can to a bunch of animals, that's oof.
See, mine comes into the coercion factor because if you know that there's a low percentage of it working, but these people have no other hope but doing your medical study or something like that, that's also iffy to me. That feels not so great.
I mean, this world is what it is. There's nothing good anywhere. Ugh,
Dark
everything
Karina.
sucks. Everything
Dark.
sucks. I'm
We
so
know
sad.
which adventure Karina will be choosing on Greg's.
I'm already depressed. I'm just gonna be sad about it, Greg.
Karina's
Whatever it
like,
is.
Like I said,
choose
like
negative.
you can choose what you want to believe for mine. So, you know.
Oh, Christina, did you give us all your facts?
Yes, I'm ready for
Okay.
Greg's story.
Okay, Greg. What were you gonna talk about? The
Okay.
Fermi thing?
So I want to talk about the Fermi paradox because that's something I think is really interesting. It's more of like philosophy about space, but also we can't do a space episode without talking about aliens. So this involves aliens too.
I love an alien. I
Yeah,
love an
exactly,
alien story.
right?
I'm so excited.
So
I
all right,
just
so I
didn't
will
even
give it
think about aliens when I thought about space. I'm not even gonna
right.
lie.
You didn't
No,
even think about aliens?
no, I just was
No.
like
Karina,
the
you are in New
dogs.
Mexico. That is
Yeah.
Okay,
inappropriate.
New
That is
Mexico.
Yeah, I've
inappropriate.
New
been to the
Mexico
UFO
sent four
museum in
monkeys
Roswell, by the way, which is
and a
$5
chimp.
well spent.
Right? Like the only stickers I have from New Mexico are the alien stickers.
Wait, it was only $5, Greg?
The UFO museum, when I went
Mhm.
like in 2011 or so, it was $5 to go to the UFO museum in
It wasn't
Roswell.
good though. I will say to everyone out there,
I thought it
when
was
I went.
great for five
Oh, did
bucks.
you?
For
Like, oh no, I enjoyed myself. It was fun.
Opposite opinions here, but I thought it wasn't worth it. But I was probably wanting more than what it was ever gonna be.
It was exactly what I thought it was going to be. So I was like, $5, I'm good. I killed a few hours and had a good time.
I live in New Mexico and I only go through there whenever I go visit my mom. And I don't go to the museums. It is it is a desert town in the middle of kind of nowhere. in the
Oh,
middle
there's
of
nothing.
one of the least populated states in the United States. It's great. I love it here. Don't come here if you like moisture, though. No, I truly, before we moved here, I don't like the desert. I don't trust the desert. I think there's too much space. I think it makes sense that the aliens came here. And especially since we did so much NASA nonsense, and these are the things we know about. Who knows what secret projects they have out there? They have so much land. Every time I drive, and then sometimes they shut down the interstate so that they can do like bomb tests. What do they
You
need a
know,
bomb for? They need
They're
to
like, we're
stop
just
doing too
testing
much.
bombs, so don't drive.
Literally, they have signs that are like, whenever this happens, the road's closed. We can do it. No one's stopping us.
see, I'm not saying that the US government isn't terrifying because I know about those psych experiments. Like we should do one about men who talk to goats, right? Like those are so fun. Those are so fun. I'm more worried about the ones we don't know about. Like something happening in the jungles of Bolivia that some mad scientist is doing some shit. I'm so sure that those are the scarier ones. I'm 57% sure those are the scarier ones.
I was like, Randy, you're putting a lot of faith into the government right now.
No,
Right now.
I didn't mean it like 100%. I just meant like I was over 50.
All right,
Like,
Greg,
I'm
bring it
more
back.
sure than I am not sure.
Right. Right.
Okay, so because we have talked a lot about history, I want to talk a little bit about where like this whole idea comes from in the name. So we don't know for sure, it, kind of like the pirate stuff, right? We call this the Fermi paradox because according to stories, this was first proposed by a guy named Enrico Fermi, who was one of the scientists involved in the Manhattan Project. Um, so he actually was in New Mexico in Los Alamos, where supposedly this conversation happened, where he was talking with some scientist, and they were like talking about this idea about what like is there intelligent life out there, right? I mean, everyone's like, do you think aliens are real, basically? And this is a bunch of physicists talking in New Mexico after they've already like made an atomic bomb and detonated it and stuff like that, because Fermi went on and like worked for the Atomic Energy Commission and stuff like that. Like he was involved in nuclear things. Also, he came to the United States from Italy in 1938 because his wife was Jewish, and they started cracking down on like basically passing similar laws to what the Nazis were doing in Germany. And so Fermi was like, it's time to flee this country because it fucking sucks. And he left, and this ended up being like a huge, like one of the many factors for why the United States developed a bomb first, right? Like Fermi was able to do a lot of the physics calculations and experiments and stuff like that to help make it happen. Um, so, the US benefited from that. But anyway, supposedly he's having this conversation with people about aliens. And, you know, whether or not like we should call it the Fermi paradox or like include these other people is kind of a moot point. That's like what you see everywhere when you hear that. But the first person to put it into print was Carl Sagan in 1963. So yeah, no, you're not wrong. So Carl Sagan, right? Like he's known for Cosmos and the original Cosmos and stuff like that. Awesome promoter of science. Is the first person to like sort of help refine this and put it into print. So basically, it's this paradox about like why we haven't been contacted by aliens yet. So I'll walk y'all through the basic argument, right? There's like a couple of points in the chain for this argument. So first off, number one, there are billions of stars in the Milky Way alone, not even talking about other galaxies, that are similar to the sun, like similar heat, like profile and stuff like that. Number two, there's a high chance that of these billions of stars, there are planets like Earth that are in the habitable zone, right? Like they're in that zone where you're not too close to the sun or too far away. Like it's somewhere in that range, right? It's like the Goldilocks zone or whatever is what it's called. Um, all right. Point number three. Many of these stars and the planets around them are older than Earth. So there's a high chance that these planets, if they're in a habitable zone, would have developed intelligent life, possibly millions, maybe even like a billion years ago, right? So like way earlier than us. All right. The next point in this argument is that some of these civilizations, if they were in that zone, they did develop intelligent life, could have developed interstellar travel because they've had millions or a billion years head start compared to us, right? Even if you traveled slowly and you had some sort of like a colony ship kind of thing, you could get across the Milky Way in a few million years if you had like some sort of a society that could live on this ship or something like that. So, based on all of these premises, Earth should have been visited by a civilization or like their probes, or like we should have received some sort of contact by any number of species that are out there exploring the galaxy, right? But according to Fermi, there's no convincing evidence that this has happened. So he's not on board with the Roswell, New Mexico UFO train. And so then the question is, why is that? Right? So if all of these things are true, then why have we not been contacted by aliens already? Right. So I want to just pause there and ask what y'all think of that. Because I mean, like logically, I think it's pretty, I mean, it makes sense to me.
Have you guys seen Project Hail Mary or read the
Not
book?
yet. I want to.
But you've read the book?
Mm-mm.
Part of the premise is that, like the Goldilocks zone, isn't may not necessarily be true because the assumption then is that oxygen, nitrogen, hydrogen are all necessary for the creation of life,
Hmm.
which I think makes that even worse though, because then it means more planets have the possibility of having life, right? So then it makes the question even bigger as to why it is that we haven't been contacted. Although, now that you're talking, Greg, I do think I know what it is. I'm not going to say it, but I do think I
Oh,
know.
well, there's like multiple theories for like to explain this, because that's part of it is like it's a paradox, right? Like it's kind of an open-ended question about like why this hasn't happened yet, right? I mean, and maybe you think that we have been contacted already, right? Like that's also a valid response to that, where you're like, okay, he's wrong about that. Like aliens have landed and, you know, we have their bodies in Area 51 or something.
See, I always wonder on like the other end of the spectrum where it's like, what if, like, you know how people say like we look for them, but like, what if they're really watching us and they're like, wow, like those people are not smart.
I mean, I'm
And I,
watching us being like,
you know,
wow.
yeah. And I think it's crazy because I think for me, I guess like speaking on that is like I do sometimes find it hard to believe like we can't be the only ones, right? Like there's, in my mind, I'm like, there's no way it's just us, like out of a whole universe filled with, and I think what's also like, I don't know if you guys have watched, I think it's called Orville with like Seth MacFarlane, and it's kind of like their take on, what is it,
It's
like
like
Star
Star Trek,
Trek?
but
Yeah.
Seth MacFarlane world. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But I mean, like that, even that show, like even though it's meant to be, a little bit more on like the funnier side and has, that some sort of like comedic, release in it and stuff, and it has a storyline, but like even how the show is, like how the show is perceived, like I mean, it is like it shows like humans, and then they go to this other planet where it's like a completely different species of people per se, and like they do have their own language and they do have their own environment and stuff that they live in and stuff. So I mean, for me, I'm like, is it so hard to believe that that might be true?
Growing up, I used to watch documentaries on National Geographic, and they were all like, these are the theories we have in space, or like octopus documentaries or whatever. Um, anyway, I love that stuff. And there are some like species of fish that live like so deeply in the most grossest sulfuric like pits of the ocean, and they survive off the sulfur. And it's like they have learned to adapt to live in that environment. And I have always been of the belief that I think it is stupid to assume that we know how every single type of life is going to evolve in the universe.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Um, but that being said, like, okay, one, I was shocked by how recent the idea and the like cultural knowing of what an alien looks like is really only from Carl Sagan. Like that is shocking. Like it feels like it feels like it should go farther back. I do know I mean we all know that there's like we've all watched Ancient Aliens. They're always talking about aliens. But the notion of the alien as we know him is a pretty recent interpretation. And I always forget that part.
Like the little green men kind of
Yes.
thing. Yeah.
Yes.
But it's crazy the interpretation too, like you said about because like there's this one podcast that I listen to, and this is kind of going, I don't want to like make it seem paranormal or anything like that, but it's like one of those where, people submit kind of like real life, situations that they've been in. And going back to kind of like what you're saying, like how aliens are perceived or what we think they look like, I have heard stories on, I don't want to trail off too much, like aside from like space or aliens, but how, there's like people that have had situations where they do, they say that they got visited and it does look like the movie Alien, right? Where they're gray, they're kind of cool, they have the big eyes and all that. Some where, the little green men, there's some where it's more of like a dimension thing, and they were like, it's not technically an alien, but it's like a praying mantis looking kind of. So it's like crazy how like the different perceptions or different situations that people kind of explain, like with extraterrestrial, I guess is how I'll put that, beings like being visited by them and how they're showing themselves, I guess, or from what they remember, how they look.
If I get taken by a praying mantis alien, I'm gonna be pissed. Like I can't. But what, okay, one of my theories about why they haven't visited us or why we are okay, like I personally think that yes, I think it'd be weird that if they hadn't visited us, but one, we're not that special. We just like to think we are. And we also don't know how evolved we are. I'm sure the ants think they're super evolved. Like they can't or they don't think that
They're
hard
like, oh
anyway.
fuck yeah, this is as good as it gets.
Yeah.
Exactly. How do we know? Like it anyway. But
Yeah.
also, there are millions of light years between us or whoever. Like there's so much distance between us and the moon. And it takes so long to get anywhere in the way that we can perceive it. So, in the time it would take anybody else of any significant technology to get here, we are barely even begun to evolve. And the timing, the odds that like this giant invading people are just going to come and show up, like the odds of that happening are so slim. Like I think that is the other part that we forget is like the odds of anything happening ever is like impossible, let alone like this fleet of aliens coming to invade us. And they are probably here because we've been here for a while, but like it does take a while to get places. I think that is a significant factor in these things.
Hmm.
Well, the
They'll
one that
hit
I
some of the theories and the responses to it. What
yeah,
were you
like
saying, Amy?
like one of the ones that I think is the most depressing because it just assumes that aliens are like humans in this capacity. But like there's that one about once a civilization reaches a certain level of technology, the civilization begins to implode, and that point is always right before they reach the level of true space exploration, right? And and obviously that's based off of like how they perceive human history to be. And
Yeah,
I
what other source do you have?
right.
Mhm.
Like this is what happens everywhere. Obviously, they just kill each other.
But also people who grow up with bad childhoods think that everyone had a bad childhood and humanity is Earth's bad childhood. So,
Well, and it also is a lot to think to your point about it taking so long to get places. Like I don't know what chemicals other planets have, and like they're always finding some new element on the periodic table. So like I feel like to what Christina was saying earlier, when these stars are colliding, we don't know what's being made, what's being churned up. Um, but how the aliens could have been here, and they could have been here when we were sludge. You know what I mean? And they could have been like, "Oh, this isn't worth hanging around for." And then
And
just
they just moved on.
right, they just were like, "Oh, maybe we'll catch it in another lifetime." You know? So the odds of the odds of it happening are so slim and there's so much time, but also if it did happen, the odds of them coming back after that, it just also feel even smaller at that point.
and
It's like they're
also,
just moving
how
on.
many
They got other
planets,
places to go.
Hmm.
right? How many planets have we been on that is not this one? We can barely make it back to the moon. And it's been how many years?
Hmm.
At least, what, 70 years
But they really
since
picture
we
like
sent
a
the
cloud.
monkey.
I mean, to our book club's point, they really do picture like a cloud atlas sort of society on like multiple moons, like a dune situation, you know?
I'll
Like
have to
that's what
watch
people
Dune.
think about the future of space. Is
Yeah.
I mean, they're talking about Mars in the next decade.
All right,
I feel
well,
like we've been talking about
let's get to
Mars
the
for a
moon
while,
first.
though.
When's the
Yeah.
last time we were on the moon, guys?
The
It's been a
60s.
minute,
Yeah,
you
Yeah,
know.
they only did it the one time, right?
exactly. Anyway, okay.
Twice. No,
Greg,
I think they did it twice.
who knows anymore?
Right.
What's real?
Okay.
It's gonna be AI anyway.
Right. So okay. So I want to give you all some of the responses to that, right? So y'all hit on actually a good number of them. And this isn't like an exhaustive list. They're just the ones that I felt like mentioning. So and they kind of range from like how much you want to be like, wow, humankind is awesome and unique and special to dark and depressing. So you could choose whichever one you want to pick, right? I mean, they all answer the question. Whether or not they're true, you know, it's up to us to decide. So number one is the Great Filter hypothesis. So this one essentially argues that there's so many barriers to the evolution of complex life that it rarely ever happens. And, you know, that sort of life form is unique because like the jump from just elements, inanimate matter to animate living beings, right? Is a difficult barrier. So that's like one that people point to. Another one would be like, okay, even if you have some sort of life, the evolution of a brain-like organism that allows for like complicated thought, or the evolution of meiosis and like, you know, being able to create new life from whatever form evolves, is it's all like too difficult, too sophisticated that even if you have life, it never gets to the point where you have interstellar travel or the ability to settle on other worlds, right? So basically, we are unique. We're the one in a cajillion chance, and there's maybe a couple others, but none of us can get to that point.
And yet we're still living in a timeline where Karina can send news articles about Kristi Noem's husband dressing up as a woman. That's what that's the
Exactly.
timeline we're in. We're
That
that
may be the
unique.
pinnacle of civilization right there, you know? Um, like that might be it. Um, okay. So the next one is that there are so many, like, even though the odds are slim, there's so many likelihoods of an extinction event that prevent us from getting to that point of like interstellar travel. So some of that could be natural. You could have like an asteroid colliding with, or like a planetoid or a rogue planet colliding with your planet that would destroy any life that did evolve there. Or you could have volcanic eruptions or some sort of like climate disaster, space events like, a supernova, your star going supernova, a black hole sucking the planet into it, or, something like that that would just wipe out, even if there was life, there's a good chance it's going to get wiped out of all the billions of possibilities out there. Um, Also, if you do get a complex civilization, like you were saying, Randy, they're likely to hit that point where they destroy themselves before, like through infighting or some sort of cataclysm or environmental disaster, before they get to the point where they solve those problems, the energy problems, resources, and leave their planet or their solar system, right? So basically, extinction events like wipe out most of those chances. Okay. Another theory is the problem of space-time and physics, that basically we can't ever hit faster than light travel. That's like a physical barrier to the universe. And so the distance just traveling through the universe is too great for a civilization to last long enough to send people or send a colony ship or something like that. Like think about how far it is for us to get to like Alpha Centauri, which is like considered the next closest maybe habitable solar system. The resources are so great that like even getting there is a pipe dream compared to, traveling the entire galaxy. Not to mention like from one galaxy to another.
Yeah, and
All
how
right.
many monkeys do we have to send before we can even
Yeah, like how many
begin
monkeys can
to
we send to
attempt
another galaxy,
right
Um,
before
And
we oh, go
we're
ahead, Randy.
assuming their time frame's the same, right? Like they're like,
right,
yeah,
right.
we die in 80 Earth years also.
Yeah, like if you're a being that lives for 1 million years, then maybe that's not so difficult, right? You just do your
Take a
thing.
nap.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you go in this deprivation tank and just get a rest from your millions of offspring. You know?
That was part of their test too, Greg.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, so another one, so I have three more. Another one is called the zoo hypothesis. So basically, any advanced civilizations would like that have developed the sort of intellect and empathy and stuff like that would avoid contact with any other civilizations they encounter to allow them to develop naturally. So it's kind of like the prime directive in Star Trek, right? That you're supposed to not like interfere with the workings of whatever society you encounter. So we're like we're the primitive species here, and they're like, "Oh, we gotta leave these guys alone and just see how this plays out."
which is not going well.
We got to see what the ants do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so they're just like, that was a good idea. We shouldn't have given them faster than light travel, you know?
They
Right.
shouldn't. Do not give us more. We cannot be trusted. Mm-mm.
Um, So the next one is that we're living in simulation, right? This is a simulated universe and we can't see the true outside world. And so what we think, is like we're just deluded basically and we think that we live in this reality that there's infinite space, but really we're in a complex civilization simulation that some advanced society is running for whatever experiments, presuming that they don't have the same moral qualms that we would about maybe doing something like that. Slash, we've also talked enough about human nature to assume that like humans would absolutely do that, probably, if we could.
Okay, but where is the other un if I'm in a simulation, what kind of universe is that simulation in? Does that
Right.
have
Well,
its
how
own
do we
world?
know, right? Like, could we ever break? We can't break outside of it, necessarily.
See, that almost is scary to me. I feel like just the thought
Yeah.
of it even is
I have
which is
full
like
days where I go through an existential crisis, Christina, and I'm just like, this is I'm convinced that everything is a simulation, and I'm like looking for the
Looking for,
glitches.
yeah.
I'm like, it's happening somewhere.
this is like a total aside, but have y'all seen the like animated it's like an ongoing animated series called The Amazing Digital Circus?
I've
Mm-mm.
seen it on the internet, but I haven't
Right.
watched it.
So like my daughter, who's 7 now, but she was like 6 when she was like, oh, she knew what this was because she'd like randomly seen it on YouTube. But it's actually like I watched because she was like, oh, I want to watch this on Netflix. I've watched it before. So I watched the first couple of episodes with her, and I was like, oh, this is actually like an adult animated show that's dealing with like super like it's not like messed up in like a Rick and Morty like dirty sense, but it's like it really grapples with these like crazy philosophical questions. Like, imagine like putting on like a VR headset and then your consciousness is like sucked into a machine and you're trapped there. Like, what do you do? Like,
Crazy.
it's wild. It's really good. And suppose I don't know if it's like the end of the season or the end of the show is dropping in June. And the last episode was like absolutely mind-blowing. Um, so y'all should watch it.
That's
They're
wild.
like 30-minute episodes.
Greg, your little apple didn't fall too far from the tree there.
Yeah.
Oh, do your kids know about Digital Circus?
No, I'm just saying, like, with how, I mean, just
It
from
makes
knowing
perfect
you,
sense.
yeah, it makes perfect sense that
Oh,
your daughter, you know what I mean? I'm like, I mean this wholeheartedly, like, getting to know you, and I'm going off on tangent, Karina, so you can also
oh,
just leave this out if you want to, but getting to know you and stuff, like, I can just see how intelligent you are. And so, like, hearing that from you being like, my daughter did this, and I'm like, yeah, I get it. I get it. Like,
no, it's wild. Like you'll have to watch the show because we literally watched the latest episode dropped like a week or two ago, and we watched it. Brooke and I and my son Nathan's watching it now because like apparently all his friends at school are talking about it, and he hadn't watched the last two episodes. So when the kids were here this last weekend, they were like, he was like, I've been telling my friends not to give me spoilers because I want to watch it. So I watched the latest episode with him, and I'm not going to ruin anything in case y'all watch it. I can't recommend it more highly because it's like so interesting where you're just like,
And
what the fuck would you do?
yeah.
it's not even, I mean, it was in 2023. They only did 7 episodes. Are they doing more?
Well, that's it. So they've been taking like at first it was like a year. So it's this independent animation company called Glitch Studios that does it, and they've put out a few other shows. There's another one that's only dropped one episode called Knights of Guinevere that's really good. We watched that one. But like they took like a year or so in between episodes, and they've finally gotten it down to like about 6 months in between it because it's not like there's no big like studio funding this. It's a bunch of independent animators and writers and stuff like that who are doing it. And I think Glitch kind of like works with different teams to publish that stuff. But they've only done like I think the eighth episode comes out in June. Like I
Okay,
put
so
on
it
my
is on, like
calendar.
it is ongoing.
Yeah, it's ongoing, but they take forever. I mean, like they're like, hey, we sped up the production time, and it's like 6 months in between episodes. It's really cool.
Well,
So basically, we're all living in a simulation, and like, and that raises all the questions about simulations, like how do you know you're in it? Can you ever get outside of it? Can you prove you're in it or whatever? Um, so the last one is, I think, probably the the darkest in some ways. Maybe like kind of, I think Randy, you were saying like sort of like, oh, like we base this on like us and like how we think and like we assume that
yeah,
that's how like everyone else does.
yeah.
So this is the dark forest theory, which is basically that there may be a lot of advanced civilizations out there, but they see it in their interest to remain silent and to sort of hide their identity out of, or like their existence even, out of the fear that if you reveal yourself, this would lead some other civilization out there that's older, that's more advanced than you to destroy you because like their natural inclination would be to destroy any competition because you could reach the point where you attack them and destroy them. So it's basically super paranoid and that like it's like this it's survival of the fittest in space, right? That like when you think about a forest and a deer, right? The deer has to move like stealthily and as silently as possible to avoid getting attacked by a predator.
Right.
And it's basically the same thing, right? So even if we could detect these civilizations, they're probably doing everything they can to like prevent anyone from knowing where they are. Because if you sent a signal out there and you're broadcasting, hey, we're out here, some other civilization's gonna roll up and be like, nah, and destroy them and take their resources and stuff like that.
It's almost like the biggest fear is that someone will colonize you like you have
Exactly.
colonized others.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Hmm. Wild.
Yeah, it's the same fear the patriarchy has. If they get power, what are they gonna do? Are they gonna
Are
do
they going
what
to
we
treat
They
did?
us
would
like
do
we've
the
been treating
exact
them?
same thing we've done, you
Are
know?
they gonna do what we did?
Which that
No.
is really dark. Thinking
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
putting it in that perspective. Yeah. That's
So
wild.
obviously there's like other ways that you could respond to that or think about it, but that's like a good number of the big theories.
I really
Wild.
like those. I like how different they are too. I mean, kind of like what you said, how it's like from here to like
Yeah.
here. It's
It's like we're super unique and everyone's out to kill everybody, so be as quiet as possible. It's like the
yeah.
quiet place, right? Like
Hmm.
I think it's really probably unhealthy for us as humanity to have the super unique theory, though. I just don't think that I think that sort of superiority complex not healthy.
no.
Not
I
healthy.
feel like it also feeds into the whole intelligent design where it's like it's
Yeah.
so difficult that like the only solution is God made us, you know?
And what if God was one of those million-year-old aliens that just happened to stop by and was like, "Let me have a child. Okay, I'm taking a nap."
Randy,
And
let me
like
have a child.
But also, like, I don't know how like deep into like evangelical and religious circles y'all have been, but I remember like
deep,
there's a very
deep.
popular like Christian argument that like, you know, basically if the Earth was even like a fraction of a percentage out of its orbit, that we wouldn't exist. Therefore, like it couldn't possibly have not been a creative being. And
Hmm.
that's just like not true. Like the Goldilocks zone is huge, right? Like we've kind of figured out based on math that like there's a huge range, and even like the Earth's orbit is not a perfect circle. Like it goes further away and then closer away depending on, you know, where it is. Like
Hmm. Hmm.
it's not
Not
a
to
perfect
mention the fact
circle.
that there's been 5 mass extinctions or something like that. So clearly, it's more like a roach scenario.
If
Yeah.
somebody told me design a living creature and think about every single thing, including like make it look at things. How does that work? How does body work? How does anything work at all?
Karina,
And
you
you're
know
like,
you get to decide what the senses are.
that's freaking strange.
Do they even see? Do they have eyes?
Why is your creature so wild like that, Randy? But this creature I create is not going to be as intricate as I am. I'm just saying, like, this divine creator idea is, I'm gonna get I feel like comments one day about this, but like, I can't imagine being like, I know some guy made this. I can't imagine being responsible for that many people. Maybe that's why I'm a person and not God. I don't know.
That guy also gave me anxiety.
Yeah, I get it
I
on purpose.
I think that's why I jive more. Again, you guys know I am not religious at all. Do not enjoy it. Feel like it's a cult. But I do think that the people like the Christians who are like old world, because you know that there's new world Christians and old world Christians. For our listeners who don't know, new world Christians believe that eh, the creation was very, very literal. It was 7 exact days, and by that count, the earth is 6,000 years old. And then the old world Christians are the ones who are like, oh, well, we don't know how long God's day is. It could have been 1,000 years. It could have been 1,000,000 years. But the earth was created, and evolution is a natural part of the world that God created. So, of course, we evolve and we adapt and we do these things, right? So, like, old world creationists at least make a little more sense. They're like willing to let science have a place. I think science is the place, but that's just me. I forgot where I was going with this. Sorry.
No,
I
but
don't know. I
that
mean,
makes a lot of sense. I
valid
actually
points.
didn't know that, Randy. I didn't grow up super religious. Like
Oh,
I grew up like Buddhist, like because of just Asian culture, but like as far as Christianity and stuff, like I can tell you like I only know what I have read in the Bible, and I don't think I finished it. I'm sorry if that offends anyone listening, but I don't think I finished. Like I see bits and pieces, or like you know what I mean. Like you hear people talk about it, but um, it's a lot for me to grasp, honestly.
It
But
gets
Well,
pretty
and
wild depending on like
yeah,
yeah.
how far down the rabbit hole you go, right? Like the Earth is 6,000 years old. It was created in 4004 BC on a
Hmm.
Thursday, right? Like, if we count
Like if
back days of the
someone is
week
gonna
and stuff like
explain it
that,
to me,
like
like I
we're
need
gonna
someone
get
to
very
explain it.
specific. And
Yeah.
also like any like science is wrong. It's just trying to just like distract you from your faith. And those dinosaur bones, those were put there by Satan to trick you, right? To
no, the
try
I also
to,
dinosaur,
feel
no, no, no. The dinosaur bones were the Leviathan in the story of Jonah. The dinosaur
right. Or
bones were
that, yeah.
there. They were appropriate. And if you go to a certain mountain range, you will see Noah's Ark in the shadow of the mountain, right? What I find most interesting about Christians when they use science is that they do the whole I know what this is, so I'm going to design the study so it proves what I know way of doing things. So that's always fun. So whenever whenever the science comes out of the Christian church, I'm always like, okay, let's go immediately to the study. Let's see how they built this thing, which I'm sure nobody else does, but I immediately go to the study. I'm like, somebody show me what these quacks did. I want to
but
know.
but also most people are not looking at, okay, let's be real. If I'm scrolling and you're just scrolling, you're not looking at a study and being like, show me the sources, show me the way that you did the study, show me like let's critical think here. Most people are just like the facts said that. I know that website isn't reputable in any way. But like going back to the religion thing, I feel like a lot of religions are just people following people. And personally, and like even just the Christian church has its own offshoots and people that use the Bible and their own interpretations as a way to control people. That is just how the way things are and have continued to be for hundreds of years. It just is facts.
And it's crazy how much they're like broken up, if that makes sense. Like whenever I remember like growing up, like driving past and like you see a certain church, like I mean, I'm trying to figure out how to explain it. Cause like obviously for me, like I said, I didn't grow up
A
Christian, so I don't know.
denomination.
Right.
Hmm.
A
Like you
denomination.
see like, Baptist or you
Baptist.
see, Lutheran or whatever. And like my husband, like not him specifically, but his dad grew up like Jehovah's Witness, and like I've inquired his brain so much about that because he's like, it's culty. He's like, I'll just gonna tell you that now. He's like, it's culty, but like, just
Allegedly, we're not
yeah,
going to jail.
and
But
yeah,
I just don't
allegedly.
understand being in a religion that you're not one of the people that are going to be like you're actively knowing that there are more people in the religion than could possibly be saved before the apocalypse.
Oh, but you're
That
just like
part,
hoping you're in that, like, it's like the lottery. You're like,
yeah, the
man,
Well,
144,000
it's
that are going to be rescued. Like they put numbers. The Jehovah's Witness put numbers. They're like, this is it. You got to do everything you can to be on this list.
I didn't realize that, Randy, and now I feel like it's worse somehow. Like, there's a
And they're
list?
like very serious about it because like
I mean, they don't make it, but yes, there's a list. Sorry,
but like my
Christina.
husband said that like he has like family that are still in a part of it, and like they don't talk to them because they're not a part of it anymore. Like it's
That
like
is a big thing.
you
Oh
Like
have,
yeah,
that and
yeah.
it's a
Mormonism.
hard.
Like Jehovah's Witness, it's like disfellowshipping. Like
Hmm.
if they ever come knock on your door and you're like, I don't want you to ever come to my house again, just tell them that you've been disfellowshipped and they'll blacklist you.
Hmm?
Oh, that's yeah, because we've already gotten Jehovah a few times.
That's the
Jehovah.
way to go.
The
Like
verb,
because
the
they
verb
literally are like
Jehovah.
it's basically so it's like goes back to like other like Amish and stuff like that with shunning, right? Where you're like,
Hmm.
you have been shunned, we're no longer talking to you and like acknowledging your existence.
Which is that's just so crazy. But then again, I'm such a lover girl, so I'm just like, man, like how can people do that? But I mean, you know,
A
they
lot of
can.
religions do
Yeah,
that. A lot of them do. And
wild.
cults.
Allegedly.
No, that one's real. If you're just shunning people, cult. Okay, we have to bring it back to space.
There
Christina, what are
will be
your
cults in space, Karina. There will be.
There-
That's basically Dune in a nutshell if you go beyond like the first book.
Now I want to read Dune.
It's on
I've
our list,
tried.
Karina. We are, aren't we? Isn't it on our list?
I don't think we're reading Dune.
Oh,
I
that
don't think
might
it's
be
on
my
the
other book
list.
club.
I wouldn't do that to myself.
Also, I would just jump in and like be a part of that one just because that was like the first big sci-fi series I read that was like an adult series, so I'm like a huge nerd about it.
I've tried to read it like twice and I just can't do it
Oh,
yet.
it's rough, you know. Like looking back, I try to read it again now and I'm like, why did I read this so many times? Because it's it's hard, you know.
It is. All right, Christina.
okay, my last two facts to
Hmm.
close up the podcast. So, um, on here it says there's a planet where it probably rains iron. And so it says astronomers using ESO's Very Large Telescope observed a ultra hot giant exoplanet that's actually called WASP 76b, where the daytime temperatures climb up above 2,400 degrees Celsius, and it is hot enough to vaporize metals. And it says the winds likely push iron vapor to the cooler night side, where it condenses into iron droplets.
Imagine the weather change, the climate change makes it start raining iron.
Yeah, I was like, if there's any beings that live on there, they're made out of something special.
This proves the dark forest theory though, because if
Yeah,
something survives that, you don't want to fuck with them, right?
no
Like
way, no way.
Okay, but they say like, when we think about humans as aliens that were fire breathers, you know what I mean? That we're slowly like, because oxygen sets
Oh
our
yeah,
cells on fire.
mm,
And then
that's wild.
my last one is about magnetars. So it's unhinged magnets. A magnetar is a neutron star with a magnetic field, and it's so intense that it can be more than a trillion times stronger than Earth's. And if one came anywhere near you, the force could even start altering matter at an atomic scale.
How do we know this? And how do you know you're getting too close to a
How do you
trillion
know?
times stronger than our planet
Yeah, I'm gonna need
magnet?
NASA to explain that to me, but
I need someone to come tell me how I keep away from the from the magnet.
because
What is it,
altering
a
matter is,
magneto?
yeah, yeah.
That's freaking
But
wild.
yeah, that was my last fact. Do with that information what you will.
Wild. I loved all this science, space stuff. It was a good one. We went through every emotion you can have today. I feel like I made a lot of faces because I'm like, what in the hell is happening out there? Space is wild.
People are wild.
Space is also wild, Randy. Did you not hear about the random screaming that happens?
Yes. But I honestly think of space like the inside of my head. Like those planets that are just going around. That's that thought I can't find again.
I had a wild idea. I was like, what if I'm somebody's depression? Like, what if I don't know it, but I'm like in their brain? What if that's the simulation?
It's like an emotion, like in what was the Pixar movie?
Like inside out, but you
Inside
don't know you're
Out.
in a
But
person?
you're just someone's anxiety.
Yeah. Oof. Uh,
Generalized. That's general anxiety.
um, well, okay, before we go, because we do have to go. It's been a long episode, but it's been a good one. I have a fun fact that is a little more livening. It'll be nicer than the traumas we've endured. So in 2009, astronomers explored a giant cloud of gas at the center of the Milky Way, and they discovered that it was full of a chemical known as ethyl formate, which is responsible for giving raspberries their flavor as well as smelling like rum. So they say that the Milky Way smells like rum and raspberries. But also near this cloud of ethyl formate was another cloud of ethyl alcohol, or ethanol, the type that we use to make alcoholic beverages. And it contains enough alcohol to supply everyone on Earth with 300,000 pints of beer per day for 1 billion years. But the proof of this beer would be less than 1%. So it's basically kombucha. I mean, I think kombucha has more. But yeah, it was like from, I think it was from Skylight magazine or Skyla something magazine, and they were like, but you don't want to drink this alcohol because it has carbon monoxide and hydrogen cyanide, so maybe stay away from it. Anyway, yeah, that's what the Milky Way smells like. Congratulations,
Milky Way
everyone. You're
knows how
welcome.
to party.
Yeah, space is a party. But
That's
thank you
crazy.
so much for joining us on our monthly Lil Sips episode where we cover space. At the end of this month, we will be doing our Cloud Atlas meeting on Discord. You can join us at any tier on our website, where we also have merch, and you can help support our historical endeavors and our research. But for now, thank you for listening and join us on our next video episode or on any audio episode we have on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Okay, bye now.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh yeah, and also bye Christina for the last time for a little bit.
Bye, guys.